The North African Campaign was a series of campaigns in North Africa between the Allies and the Axis. Many of these countries had colonial interests in Africa, which only led to more controversy. More specifically, the campaigns were fought in the Libyan, Egyptian deserts, as well as Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. The offensives in Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia were known as Operation Torch. The official start of the campaign was with the Italian declaration of war in June of 1940. In immediate response to this, the British forces crossed into Libya and captured an Italian fort. This event led to an Italian counteroffensive in Egypt in September of 1940. Later in the year of 1940, the British launched a counteroffensive by the name of Operation Compass. During this operation, Italy suffered heavy casualties. Due to this, Germany aided their struggling ally by commencing Operation Sonnenblume, which sent General Erwin Rommel to prevent a complete defeat in the offensive. This campaign of offensives was on a back-and-forth basis until the climactic battle of the Second Alamein, where the Allied forces created an important victory which forced the Axis into Tunisia. This led to Operation Torch. Operation Torch was an offensive that allowed the British forces to secure their objective of obtaining victory in North Africa and allowing the Americans to still be a contributor in the war, but on a smaller scale. Also, this operation alleviated the pressure on the Soviet Russia due to the fact that many Axis countries were going to assist in the African effort. After continual advancements in British code-breaking technology, the Allies' campaign led to a continual success and victories at decisive battles in Africa. The Allies were victorious in this effort, and the Axis were forced back into Italy. And because of the Italian campaign, the fascist government in Italy fell, thus leading to a complete fall of the country. The Axis occupation of Greece began in April of 1941. This occupation started with an invasion done by the Axis parties of Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy. Italy invaded Greece prior to Germany. Greece successfully denied the Italians. Later, when the great German Operation Merida commenced, the majority of the Greek army was on the Albanian border, where the Italian invasion was occurring. Although Greece received a small set of reinforcements from Britain in anticipation for the invasion, no more troops were sent once it began. Due to this, Germany was able to advance into Greece quite easily. With the goal of retreat, the British soldiers performed a tactical retreat. When the British troops reached Greece's southern shore, they were captured by the Germans. After the invasion, Greece was occupied by Italy, Germany, and eventually Bulgaria. The occupation of these countries led to many hardships for the Greek people, such as starvation, revolts, and Greek economy was in an awful state. This lasted until October of 1944, when Soviet forces in southeastern Europe threatened to cut off the invaders. After this, it was not long before the troops from Britain and Scotland entered and officially liberated Greece from Axis occupation. The invasion of Yugoslavia was an attack directed by the Axis powers on the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. Because of the coup d'etat in early 1941, Hitler saw an opening and took advantage of it. The invasion was started with heavy airstrikes on prominent Yugoslavian airfields, and the strong German land forces created heavy adversity for the Yugoslavian people. The Germans launched continual attacks from neighboring countries to ensure its success, and continual pressure from the Italians and Hungarians called the Yugoslavian army to fight on multiple fronts. In response, the Yugoslavs led a counterattack against the Italians in Albania. The attack saw success in the beginning, yet was considered irrelevant due to the actual collapse of the Yugoslavian military. After the collapse, the invasion concluded with an armistice which was essentially based on the unconditional surrender of the Yugoslavian army. This sealed the deal and an easy Axis victory. When this went into effect, Yugoslavia was officially occupied by Axis powers. Some neighboring parts of Yugoslavia were annexed, and some areas such as Croatia were subject to puppet states. This occurred until Yugoslavian liberation later in the war.
The Battle of El Alamein was a battle fought on the north coast of Egypt that started on July 1st, 1942, and only lasted 27 days. After the Axis won at Gazala, they followed the Allied forces to an area 60 miles west of Alexandria, Egypt. It was at 2:30 in the morning. Rommel gave his troops the signal to attack. His exhausted troops lost. Later, Rommel blamed his loss on a lack of supplies and food. Operation Mincemeat was a deceptive plan executed by the British. Their goal was to make Germany think they would attack Sardinia, when really they had their eyes on Sicily. In order to execute this brilliant plan, They decided that it was best if the Germans found a man floating dead in the ocean. The man would have a suitcase which contained all the fake files planted by the British. When the Germans found the files and the man, they thought they were real. Due to the success of Operation Mincemeat, Germany disregarded genuine documents later found in the war.
The Italian campaign was the plan put together by Britain and other parts of the U.S. where they invaded Italy to get Italian and German soldiers to surrender. It was known as the Allied operations around Italy and in Italy in 1943 until the end of the war. The forces commanded the invasion of Sicily and the control of the mainland until the Germans finally gave up and surrendered in May 1945. The invasion of Sicily began July 10, 1943, when there were an airplane and water landings in the Gulf of Gila. The invasion of continental Italy was when British soldiers landed at the tip of Italy, September 1943. This is when the Italian government came to the agreement with the British. Germans then planned to fight on their own. The British and American forces came up with this campaign so that they could try to get a grip on the German and Italian rulings. Benito Mussolini was the official ruler over Italy at the time of World War II. Mussolini was shot along with his mistress Clara Petacci on April 28, 1945. Mussolini and Petacci were on their way to escape out of the country and go to Spain. They were both on a train during the shooting. Petacci tried to save Mussolini by covering him with her body, but she was shot down. Mussolini, after this, was shot twice in the chest. After the first shot, he was still heavily breathing. A member of the National Liberation Committee was said to have killed him. Then, on April 29th, the corpses were brought to South Milan to be seen by the public. Their bodies of Mussolini and some of his men were spat on, kicked, and shot multiple times before being hung upside down to be seen by all, as well as stoned. It was no tragedy to the Italian people that he was shot.